This week, I took the iPad challenge, and no, that's not where you sneak into an Apple store and lick an iPad. No, I am turning off my computer for an entire week, and I'm only going to use my 2018 iPad Pro that's running the new iPad OS beta. I want to know how close the iPad has come to replacing a traditional laptop. So this is how my week went. Right now, I am waiting for iPad OS to download and install on my iPad, so I'm taking a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a break, because this is going to take a while. I should mow. Now that the iPad OS is downloaded and installed, I'm writing down my ideas for the week and trying to structure this video. Usually I'm working from a full script. This week, it's gonna work a little bit differently because I can't wait until Friday to write my script because I have to be producing this video as I go. And in that time, I not only want to produce this video, I want to create a tutorial, which is about half done. It should be a lot easier to produce than this video is. And also this week, I'm gonna be sending out my email newsletter, which also has two pretty easy to produce videos in it, a Q&A and then like an art journey, because I'm practicing art an hour or two every day.
This one started as a dog.
So just to run it down, these are the kind of tasks I'm going to be doing this week on my iPad. I want to edit, produce 4 videos. Only one, like this one, should be complicated. The rest are pretty easy. Those editing chores include things like splicing the video, actually editing things together, producing graphics for those videos. I'm not going to be doing any animation because I don't think the animation apps are up to snuff. Talk about that in a minute. Also, finding a way to record and edit audio for them. That's a big hole in my knowledge that I have to fill this week. And probably lots of writing, and that should be pretty easy on the iPad. And then a bunch of administration tasks, making the email itself, sending an invoice, you know, all that stuff that happens in between your real work. I also expect various parts of video production to take a lot longer than they usually do because I'm not going to be using Premiere Pro. I've got to figure out what video production app I'm going to be editing in all week. I did check out iMovie because it was already loaded on my iPad, and as I was watching tutorials, I thought to myself, this isn't going to cut it. And starting tomorrow, I'm going to be editing a full-blown tutorial video. I've already got that footage recorded. It's some screen footage from my Mac. That should be pretty simple. So I am starting with something easy. I figure that's a good way to get my feet wet. I did do a fair amount of writing today. At first it was kind of fun. It was novel to write on the screen-based keyboard, but eventually the novelty wore off. So tomorrow, before I start working, I'm gonna run out and I'm probably gonna grab a keyboard cover. So until then, I'll see you in the morning. It's day 2 and I've decided to work out of somebody else's office. The main reason for this is it lets me go cold turkey. Before, at home, I could always just turn on my computer and cheat. Today, I'm out. I've got the iPad right here with me, and I can't cheat because that's all I've got. If I run into a problem, I've got to solve it here. The other thing I did before I got here is I picked up a keyboard cover, and the main reason why is after typing on this yesterday without a keyboard cover, I needed it to save my fingers and to spell things correctly. So did pick up one of those. That's kind of a necessity for all the writing that I'm doing. This morning I did some research into some of the other video apps that are available for the iPad, and the one that I really liked I'm using here. It's called LumaFusion. Now it is a little bit pricey. It's $30. I hesitated before hitting the buy button in the App Store, but after doing the research and watching other videos, especially this one where I saw someone actually working on a video, editing it, and I'll link that down below, I realized that I need a professional level app and you gotta pay for quality. And this afternoon I spent a lot of time jumping between LumaFusion and tutorials on the iPad learning how to use this app. So here I am at the end of day 2. I'm headed home and I feel much better about this experiment. At the end of yesterday, I had no idea if it was gonna work. I've been editing video all day, and overall, I don't know how I'm gonna pull it off, but I feel like it's possible that I can actually pull it off. So yeah, excited about that. So tonight, I had to cheat. I got home and I realized that I recorded the audio for the tutorial way too low at a volume that wasn't nearly high enough. I can adjust the volume in Luma, but I can't adjust it enough. I need to really crank the volume on that thing, and I'm sure that there is an iPad app that can do that. I can go out and I can find something, but right now I'm kind of in a time crunch. I want to finish this video tonight. I want to post it tomorrow morning, so that's just not, a rabbit hole that I want to jump down. So I jumped over to my Mac and I just edited the audio, and finished the video really quickly. And I think this has been an example of my iPad experience up to this point, which is you can do a lot of things. You just have to be willing to invest a lot of time up front to figure out how to do them best and find the apps that are going to work for you up front. So, tomorrow, let's shoot for no cheats. Put the final touches on my tutorial. Overall, I thought that entire process went really well. Part of the reason is because the tutorial was pretty easy to edit together, and the other part of that, like creating the thumbnail and that sort of thing, I already had the art assets ready for it. I just had to jump into Affinity Designer and add the fonts. This is the first time I got to see the download feature up close and personal too. When I downloaded the font, downloaded it into the folder called Downloads. Affinity software does have a learning curve. I've been using it for about a year, so everything for me went pretty smoothly. I did fiddle with the mouse support a little bit today. I don't feel like I need it. It's just connected, and I haven't really used it for everything. I think part of the reason why is Touch is working well and the Apple Pencil is working well. That, not a lot of apps have actually implemented things that the mouse can be used specifically for yet, at least not in the beta. Another thing that has been huge is that Safari now allows you to access the desktop version of any website, and in terms of uploading a video, like I can use YouTube now to do that. I couldn't do that before. Previously, it just sent me to the app. Now, I did run into some problems. I don't know if it was the website's problem or, well, I know it was the website's problem. Basically, every time I went to upload the video, it would stall out after a little while, so I had to retry 3 times. Eventually, it got uploaded. The other feature about iPadOS that I've been really loving, probably more than anything else, is the ability to add more than one app to the little sidebar slide over thing. I can have my music in one, a Safari tab in the other, Twitter open in the other, and I could just flip between them. It's so nice, and it makes multitasking so much better. So my plan for the rest of the day is pretty simple. I'm going to be using Luma, and I'm going to start making this video. I'm going to take all the clips that I've got so far and start compiling them together and somehow turning this into a video.
This is horrible.
So I had to get my footage from my camera onto my iPad, and fortunately for me, Canon has an app that lets me do that wirelessly.
I do not like this.
I'm not a fan of the app. Never did get it to work on the iPad. I did get it to work on my phone, and so I downloaded the images from my camera, and these are huge video files, a couple gigs each, onto my phone, and now I'm waiting for them to download, and then I'm going to airdrop them onto my iPad. Now, if I was going to work like this on a regular basis, I would just invest in a little card reader that I could plug into the bottom of the iPad. Here I am at the end of day 3. I'm doing a quick update video because I'm frustrated. I should be a lot further than I actually am. It's almost 9 o'clock at night, and I'm only a third of the way where I wanted to be by the end of the day. The biggest problem I've had all day are moving video files from whatever I take the video on, whether it's this phone or whether it's my camera, and moving them to my iPad. The files are just so big that it takes forever to get there, and then I have to move them into my Photos folder, Photos app, and then I think Apple might be sending them to iCloud because they're not working in Luma Photo, at least not my phone videos. So I'm trying to find another way. I keep having to cheat because it's the only way I can get this done by the end of the week. Just moving these large files from one source onto the iPad is way harder than it needs to be. So I guess that's the end of my day update. I will see you guys tomorrow. It is midday Wednesday, and what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna be recording on my camera, which I have set up right here in front of me, the audio and the video that I'm gonna need to stick into my email, which is a Q&A video and an update on my art challenge. So I'm gonna do that. Hopefully I've figured out how to transfer things fairly easily over to my iPad, and then I'm gonna be going and taking my daughter to sports, and I'm hoping to edit video there. That's one part of this that I'm kind of excited about. I'll let you know how it goes. So my daughter's dropped off, and now I'm gonna do a little bit of video editing and a little bit of writing, and I need to think, because yesterday I talked a little bit about some of the cool things that the new version of iPadOS does that makes life easier. Tonight when I get home, I need to do a big brain dump on Luna, and I need to talk about Affinity Designer, and I need to talk about my workflow a little bit more in detail. I also need to collect my thoughts on some other things. On Twitter this week I've been sharing this experience, and when I hit road bumps, a lot of people have been saying things like, well, hopefully the new iPadOS is going to fix a lot of these things. And now that I'm at the end of day 4, I'm thinking, no, I don't think it is. The last 2 days in particular have been pretty rough on the video editing side of things, and I think some of the problems with the iPad go beyond software or features that could be added, but are problems with iOS in general. Now it's called iPad OS. Structural problems with the way that the operating system is designed that makes multitasking hard. But I really want to collect my thoughts because some of the things I'm thinking about I haven't seen other reviewers talk about, and I want to make sure I'm not wrong, because that happens from time to time. So I need to talk to a developer friend of mine tomorrow, maybe collect my thoughts, and then dump them out in a better format. So LumaFusion, my video editing app that I'm using this week, is really good, but it's not Premiere. Now that I've used it for 2 days, I have a pretty good idea of what it does well and maybe what it doesn't do so well. And the main thing that I've learned is that the video I'm making right now this week is not really its strength. This isn't really what it does well. Now for videos that are really linear, like the tutorial I was working on, it's great because you can just slice it up in order and go. But for this video, I'm recording it in pieces, parts. I haven't written the intro yet because I don't know how this thing even ends, so I'm going with the flow. Basically what happens is when I reorder a movie clip, everything moves and shifts pretty well, but I made a mistake. I have recorded my audio and video on different tracks for a lot of these elements, and so when I move the video track over, I then have to go back, find the audio track, move that over too, and I have to keep everything in sync. And also the audio options just aren't as granular as what I need. So the audio at times, you can auto sync it so it'll drop down and it'll come back, but it's not perfect. Also, the big problem I keep running into is that you can't select multiple tracks at a time and move like all of those tracks at once. And since all of this is out of order, I have to rearrange a lot of different things. And every time I rearrange something, it knocks other things out of whack. And all of this taken together means that the video that I have, it's only like 3 minutes so far, just isn't a good video. And so I have to decide, do I want to make a video that's watchable and that people will enjoy? Or do I want to make a video that accomplishes my task where I made the entire thing on my iPad? And this is the frustrating part because I don't know what to do. So right now my plan is to keep editing for a little bit longer, and then I think I'm gonna try to make the decision in the morning. Am I gonna go, onto the computer and do this, or am I gonna finish this on the iPad? I've got to make a decision tomorrow morning and then just go with it. So my plan for today was to start the day by knocking out this email and getting it sent out, but I got totally distracted because I keep thinking about how am I going to make this video work. So what I did first thing in the morning is I took the video that I had on Luma, I exported it, opened it up on my iMac, and started playing around. And I made a couple quick little edits here and there, and I got the audio. I was able to go in and really tweak the audio that I was adding to it, and it changed everything. It felt so good because it's totally salvageable, but I don't know if it's salvageable on the iPad. So here's my plan. I'm going to take everything that I have so far and I'm going to edit it and stitch it together in Luma and get it as good as I can get it. Then I'm going to export it and I'm going to use Premiere to add those finishing touches. Some of the cuts that I can't do, some of the extended things that I want to do, especially the audio editing and that sort of thing. If I need to rearrange pieces, I'm gonna do that in Premiere on the desktop. So I think Luma's gonna get me 75 to 80% of the way there, which I wanted to do the whole thing on the iPad, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have most of it done there and then finish it off and actually have a good video than have a piece of junk that nobody wants to watch. Can this replace my laptop? The answer for me is no, it can't. iPad OS has this major flaw. Actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. First of all, let me talk about my workflow and how it fit into that. I think if I wrote my videos around what Luma does really well, I could definitely pull that off and grow with that program as they continue to update it. As far as the graphics side of things go, I'm set. Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer do what I need to do. Now, this week was a very heavy video editing week, and I do kind of wonder what would happen if that flipped. If it was a heavy graphics week and a light video editing week, would I be more frustrated with the graphics apps and be happy with the video editing? You know, I'm kind of curious about that, but overall, I definitely see where this is potentially possible. For administrative tasks, for writing, answering emails, doing that sort of thing, this is fantastic. I could see a student or a project manager or someone who's using Excel or that sort of thing a lot and writing a lot. I could see an iPad doing extremely well in those circumstances. So there are two big problems with the iPad OS, iOS in general. One is the file system. A lot of people have talked about that. I'm going to get a little more specific about that. And the other one is something I don't think can be fixed, and the thing that disrupted my workflow more than anything, and that is persistence. The file system, I think the problem here is that on the desktop, the file system is the basis that everything is built on. Here it's an app that's kind of laying on top. And to amplify the problem, in the past, before there was a file system, everything defaulted to photos. So if you had a video that you were editing or a photo or anything, it just got dumped in the Photos app. And because of that, a lot of apps, including iMovie and Luma and pretty much everything, uses the Photos app folder. It's not even a folder, it's just the app. It uses that as its kind of file system because that's all it had to work with. So we're in this in-between phase, and I just kept feeling this pull between Photos and the file app and which one is it going to pull live videos from and that sort of thing. There's a lot of weird stuff around there, like you tap on something and say save to my iPad, and you'd think it would save to a folder in your file system, but save to your iPad actually saves to Photos. Anyway, I could make a whole video about that. I'm sure other people have. I need to talk about persistence because this was the big thing that threw me this week. Say I'm multitasking. Say I'm doing 3 things at a time. I am editing my video. I am also writing down my notes of things that I'm learning in a Google Doc, and I'm also learning how to edit video. So I have a Safari tab open that has a couple videos in it that I'm watching as I go. How the iPad OS and iOS in general works is that if something doesn't have enough resources, like my video editing app says, hey, it needs more RAM to stay snappy and work well, what does it do? It goes to other apps that aren't currently in use and it says, hey, can I borrow some of your resources? And they say, sure. Now this is good and bad. This means that if I'm editing a video or making a really large art file in Procreate, my iPad always feels fast and snappy and doesn't lag too much. The downside is that if I'm working in Luma and I think to myself, hey, I want to jot down a note about this cool thing I found, and I swipe over to open up my Google Docs app, if it's taken too much memory from that, it reloads that app, which means whatever thought I had in my head, I have to hold on to while I find the document I'm in, and then I have to scroll around and find where I was in that document so I can leave that note. Same thing happened when I was learning from these tutorials as I go back to my Safari tab and it would reload that tab. Things aren't persistent the way they are on a desktop. If I was working on the desktop and I had those 2 things open, no matter how many system resources my drawing or video app took, those tabs would still be open. And now this didn't happen every single time that I switched between them, but it happened a couple times a day, and it was just enough to really throw you off your game, and honestly, it made multitasking kind of hard. And the more and more I thought about that problem, the fact that you can only kind of multitask on iPad OS, the more I saw that this isn't really a fixable problem because this is the way the operating system is built. And now it is expanding to be something it was never meant to be. And I'm just not sure the iPad can ever overcome that. So that was my experience for the week. Overall, I still have a lot of video editing left to do before this is done, but I have learned so much, and forcing myself to stick with this for as long as I did really got me in the groove. And in many ways, I absolutely love the iPad. I'm probably going to do most of my writing on the iPad going forward. What do you think? Do you think I'm totally off base here? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you guys for watching until the end, and I'll see you in a couple of days.